Hello, everyone. We are Group 6, and we will be presenting on the history, technology, and characteristics of contactless payments, which are the newest and one of the fastest growing payment methods today. You may be familiar with contactless payments as they're being implemented everywhere, including retail stores, transit operators, and many more. The evolution of payment technology has brought us to contactless payments. Starting in the 1950s, the imprinter machine was introduced where card transactions are processed manually. This was the first standardized way to settle transactions with merchants and the customer's bank using cash. The MSR stripe was then invented in the 1970s, allowing card information to be shared in a magnetic stripe. This information includes the name of the cardholder, card number, authorization code, and expiry date of the card. This is also when the first electronic payment terminals were created to read the magstripe cards. Transactions were made more secure, controlled, and the merchant was able to see if the transaction would actually be accepted or refused right on the spot. Moving to make credit and debit transactions safer in the 1990s were the chip and PIN cards. The 4-digit PIN system decreased fraud significantly, and the system was much more effective than asking for signatures for authentication because signatures are very easily replicated. Today, contactless payments are the newest form of payment. Near-field communication and radio frequency identification technology are used in anti-theft devices. NFC allows for information to be transmitted to a device in the vicinity of a maximum of 10 centimeters. GoDaddy's Point Terminal was actually the first device to accept these contactless cards, as well as third-party payment applications. In this slide, you can see some of the examples. So contactless payment is a payment that happens without any physical interface. Some of these examples include credit cards with a chip, smartphone devices, and smartwatches. Some people even opt for a wristband that stores this information. MasterCard's PayPass technology is typically embedded in plastic cards, key fobs, or cell phones, but can be incorporated into wristbands that resemble watches as well. Compatible terminals with contactless cards can even be found when boarding public transportation, in addition to payment terminals in stores, restaurants, and even smaller businesses that use terminals like Square and Clover.
So the history of contactless payments begins in Seoul, South Korea, where the local bus transport association launched the world's first ever contactless payment cards for commuters called U-Pass. This card functioned in the same way that our MARTA passes function in Atlanta. You could preload it with trips and scan it to use MARTA's amenities. The first instance of contactless payments on American soil was in 2004 when card carriers started offering this ability. But it wasn't until 2008 when Visa, American Express, and MasterCard began offering contactless card payments to their members. In 2011 and 2014, we saw another leap forward in contactless payments, with companies like Google, Android Pay, and Apple Pay offering contactless wallets and payment methods that could be used with nothing but the consumer's phone. Finally, between 2015 and 2017, we saw EMV implemented by the United States government, which shifted liability of fraud from credit cards to businesses, which prompted thousands of merchants to switch over to NFC capable terminals. All right, so thanks to the implementation of EMV, we saw a massive movement towards contactless payments. But the pandemic of 2020 gave massive incentive to businesses to go all in on contactless in all sectors to offer some form of contactless payment for safety of themselves, their staff, and their customers. No one was trying to handle cash handled by hundreds of people, and no one was trying to press on those little pin pads that's touched by dozens of people before you. One of the vehicles of contactless that has dominated the COVID era is QR codes. Restaurants, bars, coffee shops, and etc. have switched over from paper menus that get dirty throughout the day to QR codes at the table for menu viewing. And more importantly for us, you could actually pay through these QR codes now. We're continuing to witness a change in banking policy involving contactless, as clientele continue to expand where and what they use contactless for. In response, many banks have expanded their payment limit for contactless transactions, allowing customers to tap for pricier items. And the future is bright for contactless. We have a lot of signs that show that contactless is here to stay. Visa launched 300 million contactless cards in the US alone in 2020. Scan, pay, and go functions at convenience stores and grocery stores are only expanding, and biometric authentication continues to grow. For example, we have like voice recognition and iris scanning. There's a lot, they're in beta testing and could very well be in our future. So the other thing I'm going to be talking to you about is RFID, which is a tool of contactless. So RFID stands for radio frequency identification. So it incorporates the use of electromagnetic or electrostatic coupling in the radio frequency portion of the electromagnetic spectrum to uniquely identify an object, animal, or a person. That's a mouthful. There are also two different breeds of RFID. Active, which pretty much just means it has its own battery, and then passive, which means that the actual radio waves themselves are what power the tag itself. And RFID has tons of different wavelengths, and I've listed a couple here, as you can see. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows with RFID. It does come with some challenges. So we have reader collision, tag collision, and security concerns that muddy the promises of RFID. The first two deal with reading errors due to like outside interference, or there being like the device reading the wrong tag. So if there's a lot of tags around, it might pick up the wrong one. And then we also have security concerns. So valuable data can be lifted off tags from anybody with a compatible reader without even the knowledge of the owner of the tag itself. So this limits potential in like the military and the medical industry, and ultimately it will limit its potential in some financial sectors. Thank you very much.
Near-field communication is a more modern way of contactless payment, and it's very similar to RFID, but it enables two-way communication, which is why it's preferred now. And it's performed through short-range wireless connectivity technology using magnetic field induction. And this magnetism occurs through NFC tags, which are embedded in the terminals which store data. And as long as the devices are within 4 centimeters, they can communicate with each other to facilitate payments or authentication, file transfers, and more. One reason why NFC is so widely supported is because modern smartphones are able to use this, and this enables features such as Apple Pay, and the phones are able to read the NFC tags, which is why this is possible. Because it's so easy to set up a connection with near-field communication, this brings its practicality past just payments and into the Internet of Things. And it functions through wireless tag readers, cryptographic credit card processing, which is public key cryptography that is used. Every time there's a transaction, the card can generate a new authentication code, and it doesn't reveal key card details to ensure security. And also peer-to-peer connectivity is only available with near-field communication. The setup is through EMVCo, who is a manufacturer of the smart chips that are cryptographically secured inside plastic cards. The goal is to reduce fraud resulting from counterfeit and stolen cards. This is done in a manner of ways. Firstly, by authenticating the chip cards. The chip will generate an authorization request cryptogram anytime a transaction occurs, and the issuer can verify the card and then send a response cryptogram to certify the transaction. Setting a risk management parameter for offline transactions. This takes place when the issuer can set a certain number of consecutive transaction limit so that the cardholder can get notified if there's been too many transactions and they can decide if it's authentic or not. Transaction integrity via digital signatures, and also cardholder verification. And the cardholder verification method list is defined by the issuer, and it can vary depending on each terminal. So if a PIN is required, that can be done, but also if the terminal doesn't support that, then a cardholder can just give their signature and that will verify it as well. Entry point specification and contactless terminals sort of go hand in hand, basically saying that in one terminal, there can be multiple contactless payment applications. So for contactless terminals, they can support these contactless chips, or they can go by previous methods, such as requiring a cardholder signature. Implementing these EMV chips requires action by both the issuer and the retailers. The issuer has to upgrade their card production and personalization processes, so the hardware has to support this new technology. They have to upgrade their authorization and settlement systems, and they have to re-engineer the internal processes and chip support. This is mainly for generating cryptographic keys and upgrading their customer support. Retailers will have to deploy their terminals. They have to retrain their terminal operators or cashiers, and they have to upgrade their support services. They also have to upgrade their host systems to switch chip transactions for authorization and settlement. And they as well will have to re-engineer their internal processes and chip support. And they'll have to support new message formatting, and they'll have to support increased fraud detection, which is the goal of the EMV Co.
Contactless payments have already been common in other countries, but it's starting to find its footing in the US. For example, GoDaddy which is a domain registrar and web hosting company, have decided to implement their own payment gateway methods that allow business owners to accept debit and credit payments. So GoDaddy Payments will connect to the online website to accept online payments, whilst online pay links will collect payments through social media, emails, or texts. And in-person payment collections will be done through the Point Smart Terminal or Point card readers. The Point card readers are the small cube boxes that are advertised as a portable device that would fit in your pocket. They connect with the GoDaddy mobile app, which is where you would add the amount for the transaction. They're fitted with swipe, insert, and tap capabilities to offer choice for consumers. And to ensure the safety of data, it is end-to-end encrypted. The Point Smart terminals accept all forms of physical payment, including card and contactless payments. The funds are delivered to merchant banks in less than 1 business day. It's also end-to-end encrypted. The devices are preloaded with firmware and security keys. They also have flexible receipt options, and the terminal options have integrated printers and a dual touch screen for merchants and consumers. Another great example is the Ingenico card readers. Ingenico is a well-known payment service provider company. They offer smart point-of-sale terminals and payment acceptance solutions. They support up to 300 different payment methods, but what was most notable from this list is the use of e-wallets, QR codes, and blockchains. Their mobile point-of-sale card readers or contactless mobile card readers are also very popular. The next-gen chip and PIN mobile card readers is a screen with a PIN pad that connects to your phone through Bluetooth. And their compact card readers are very similar to the Point card readers. There's a number of benefits of contactless payments for banks, businesses, and consumers. Banks benefit by providing customers with greater convenience, thus earning their consumer trust and loyalty. They're also able to provide more reward options to customers and further improve customer relationships. It's also relatively maintenance-free. They save more on time and costs. But most importantly, during this post-COVID-19 world, they're able to offer a socially distant transaction option. Businesses can benefit as there's less workforce requirements for implementing contactless options. It's often faster pay and reduced costs on operating card machines. They can provide a better customer experience through a smoother checkout process. Many contactless payment options are offering the same fee for credit card transactions, so there's no overall extra cost. The secure and encrypted technology enables better transaction security and thus better fraud protection. Consumers benefit from the faster transactions and shorter queues at checkout. There's no need to handle cash or enter PINs. Transactions are much safer. Tap to pay is seen as more reliable and secure, and the chip technology protects against fraud. It's also much more flexible for consumers. Smartphones enable all payment methods to be fit in one device.
Should we feel safe using contactless payments? Absolutely. The truth is, security in contactless payments is excellent. EMV cards use a smart microprocessor chip in order to safeguard the user's credentials and protect communication with the point-of-sale terminal, making contactless far more secure than that of older cards that used magnetic strips. These chips are also incredibly difficult to clone or copy, adding yet another level of security. Contactless cards have unique keys to create a code for each transaction, and the issuer of the card verifies these transactions. The reader is equipped to recognize the chip in a contactless card within just an inch away. Because the card never leaves the user's hand, it becomes far less likely if somebody loses or misplaces their card. Phone-based contactless payments are password protected and also require activation of near-field communication settings within the phone. App-based transactions will securely store card information prior to any transactions and then authorize the use through passwords or biometric identification like facial recognition. There's skepticism about the security of contactless payments, but they are the future, and getting the truthful information out into the world will help us dispel some of the misinformation that surrounds it. COVID-19 definitely helped accelerate the adoption of contactless payments due to the fear of spreading the virus. Contactless cards eliminate the entire need to touch cash or a check or the point of sale machines that hundreds of thousands of different people may touch on any given day. MasterCard's survey discovered that 79% of responders had made the switch to contactless payments entirely for reasons of safety and cleanliness. According to Forbes, before COVID in 2019, contactless payments were valued at $1.05 trillion and are now projected to reach $4.6 trillion by 2027. Of course, with any big changes in life, a large portion of our consumers will be skeptical, and studies have shown that people feel like contactless payments are not very secure. Many people will not like the idea of not having a required PIN with the contactless card, but as we mentioned before, the card never leaves the user's hand, so it's far more difficult to lose or misplace it in a situation where somebody could steal it. For mass adoption, it will definitely be important for small and local businesses to accept contactless payments because some people choose them to support over corporations, understandable, but a lot of these businesses don't quite accept contactless payments yet. Overall, in-depth communication and education about the benefits and the security of contactless payments will increase public trust in the payment method, making it easier for others to jump on board with it as well. I'm Sam. Thank you.
Our team would like to thank you today for your time, and we hope everyone leaves this presentation feeling a little bit more secure about the future of payment methods and their payment method decisions when it comes to contactless payments, which is one of the faster, safer, and for those who own businesses, lucrative options to any payment methods today.